HelpJapanco is not a nonprofit, and I always get the questions like, why should I contribute to you when you're not a nonprofit? Well, we're a social venture, and the way that I'm setting up this social venture, it is via an employee-owned company eventually that is completely transparent. So the problem with nonprofits is, one, they take time. By the time I could get the articles of incorporation done and get filed and pay all the fees, you know, we're talking 4 to 8 months, maybe longer, to get your 501c3 back. There's no time. Social ventures happen quickly. And I'm using my existing C corporation, Foundup Corp, to launch our social venture. Now, there's problems with startups. Number one is, startups, just because you have a mandated charter does not mean that charter can't be overturned. There's a famous case of a private arts collection, you may remember, with over $1 billion that the founder did not want part of some big art collection downtown, and I can't remember what city it was in the United States. Well, eventually after his death, that charter was overtaken, changed, and the collection was moved. In essence, it was stolen. Now, a social venture, which a nonprofit can't be, will be an employee-owned company. So as long as the employees are owned, they're the ones who dictate the leadership. So yes, I guess you could, mount a coup, but it'd be much harder because unlike a nonprofit where the employees have no say in the leadership, and the leadership basically passes from one institutional body to another institutional body, basically in a social venture you have that check where, as an employee-owned company, and nonprofits can't be employee-owned because ownership is a product of a for-profit company, right? Not a nonprofit, so it's excluded. However, in that state of employee-owned, you are actually providing some checks and balances. You don't have, for example, you have nonprofits like the Red Cross, like all of the big ones. I can't think of, United Way. These nonprofits pay exuberant sums for their CEOs. I used to raise money for like the Boy Scouts and for a whole bunch. The company I work for did, right? And after a year of seeing how these nonprofits work and how they basically harp on you because of a bad disaster to fund, senior executives exorbitant fees to live in luxury, when the people that they're benefiting are barely surviving and they're taking these fat salaries, I couldn't stomach. I stayed in nonprofits for a year. I have a master's of nonprofit management administration. The whole industry sucks, period. So the beautiful thing about a social venture is once you are an employee-owned company, you dictate salaries. So a board of directors deciding, hey, we're going to keep giving ourselves pay raise, won't happen, because you have employees who are just going to say, I'm sorry, you're just not worth that, And as a group, it's kind of like a union, right? You kind of have a union running a corporation. So the other thing that's very important with a social venture is what I call the social venture charter. Okay, the social venture charter doesn't exist. I'm creating it. It's another Foundup, open collaborative framework for combining the ideas of nonprofits and for-profits for a new kind of organization called the social venture. Now, the social venture charter is very important because, number one, it's part of the articles of incorporation, not the bylaws, so changing it is extremely difficult. Number two, what the social venture charter states is basically this, is that every year profits from the social venture must either go out to the stakeholders that you're representing as a social venture. For example, HelpJapanco, our stakeholders would be the communities affected, right? It can go into a reserve fund. Only 20% of that can go to a reserve fund for future operations. And third, it can go to providing new services and solutions for those stakeholders. the article kind of, just like in a nonprofit charter, defines who your stakeholders are for the very specific. So in our case, in HelpJapanco, the stakeholders would be those impacted and affected by natural disasters such as earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis, whatever, right? So natural disasters, acts of God, right? So the power of a social venture is tremendous. The most important aspect is that you'll like is 100% transparency. What does that mean? It means, and it will state that in there, saying basically that all of your real-time accounting. Imagine seeing the real-time accounting of the Red Cross. Imagine being able to, hey, I've given $50 to HelpJapanco. By giving $50, when we launch, okay, you'll have access to a link that shows our money in, money out. We'll show total money in pledges and money and everything else, and we'll show, cost structures. Also, if you contribute to HelpJapanco, you're also becoming an advisor. You get invited to our back office advisor office, and which means that you advise me personally. All right, you advise the organization, and and the whole idea here is I want you to become an active participant, because instead of you just giving and walking away and forgetting about us, I want you to be an active player in helping shape HelpJapanco, right? Another very important value, if you start thinking about the ramifications of having an organization that is 100% transparent, you don't have all the corruption or all the bullshit that goes on. If you have an organization that basically has a community of advisors, you're empowering those people to go out and become part of your organization. The whole idea about Foundups is collaboration, the open incubator collaboration framework. This is part of that.